And while on the inside, you know, they call it the Department of Corrections or the DOC. Well, Prince and I call it, you know, the DNC, meaning the department needs correction. So while on the inside, we started thinking of, okay, well, how can we change this in here and get the punitive foot off of our back? So we said, well, the first thing we have to do is, you know, make sure the men understand you have to take responsibility for yourself. First of all, your actions. You know, rehabilitation doesn't come from being locked up an X amount of time. Rehabilitation comes for, as Prince will tell you, that long walk to the mirror where you say to yourself, you know what? I was wrong. And then from that point is when it begins. And then you start finding what we coined the term radical tenderness. You know, we use radical tenderness inside of the prisons to reach a demographic of individuals that had so many different backgrounds. And when I say different backgrounds, I'm not talking about one was from maybe Africa, or one was a Sudanese, or one was from Pakistan, or one was from Israel, or one was from none of that. I'm talking about gang members, where they have their own constitution. We know the Constitution of the United States. We know the police constitution. We know state constitutions, but we're talking about where they had their own constitution, where Bloods, Crips, Gangster Disciples, MS-13, all types of rival gangs were inside of one pod. And Prince and I were in charge of making a gumbo. And well, he said, we're going to go to the commissary. Prince, you get the rice. I said, I'm going to get a couple cans of sardines or mackerel, and we're going to make a meal. And the first thing that we did was put a big sign up, and some of you may have heard this story, but I love telling it. We put a big sign up that said self-govern. We knew that we had to take the punitive element out of the punitive process. We had to take the punitive power from our captives and those that utilize, because we have some great people inside of the Department of Crime. Don't get me wrong. You have some people that truly believe in us on the inside, but not everyone is invested. No. You have some overzealous correctional officers that will come around and give you infractions for minute circumstances. Mm-hmm. So we said, well, how can we change this narrative? Well, we said, well, if we get up in the morning and they say, have your bunks made up by 8 o'clock, no problem. Have your box tucked pushed under? No problem. Tuck your shirt in before you leave the building? No problem. Have your ID on your left lapel? No problem. Mm-hmm. So we just took the power from them. Mm-hmm. Because it's the same thing in society. We realize that if I get inside of my automobile and I don't buckle up, then I'm gonna have a circumstance. When I was looking at some of the General Assembly policies that were going to be passed in January 1st, such as you can no longer ride with a handheld cell phone in your hand because you can get stopped, I immediately sent that through the returning citizen wire. Mm-hmm. Because I don't want to give them no reason to use their punitive system on us. Mm-hmm. Again, trial and error. Mm-hmm. So prison for us was a teachable moment. But once that paradigm shift happened to Prince and I, we wanted to make it contagious. Mm-hmm. Greenville, where we were at, 2015, 16, was like, well, Virginia Correctional System was like number 2 or 3 in recidivism, meaning that when you got out, you came back. Well, we didn't like that because Oklahoma was number 1. But Prince and I, we wanted to be number 1. We didn't want to be number 1 for the department, the DNC, or Department of Corrections. We wanted to be number 1 for us, because we really wanted those guys that we were helping to mentor, that 2 men that didn't make parole, had life sentences and weren't going home. We wanted to make sure that when they got out, they would stay out. So we just continue to trend out here. I think we're really proud of all of the accomplishments that we had. And I firmly believe that God don't make mistakes. Miss Sylvia Clue is a lady that says that she's a lawyer in recovery. She does not describe herself, I was this attorney and I was defending people. And she says that she's a lawyer in recovery. Why? Because she realized while defending people that there was a lot of shenanigans going on both sides. Whether her job was to defend or go up against a prosecutor or anything, whatever litigation that she was going in or practicing, it still had some frailties. So she said, I have to do something different. So with her 30 years of experience, and we won't forget that because her legacy is very important to Prince and I. She's been involved in this for 30 years. Prince and I, 23, Prince, 25. We were inside of that prison for this term. And we were doing the exact same thing that Miss Clute was doing, but we didn't have a name for it. And that thing was trying to destroy the punitive process by using a unitive format. And when we met Sylvia Clute, we started to understand that her theory was our theory. And we've been joined at the hip ever since. So the question is, why not you? Or should I say, why not us? Why not disrupt a system that has proven through data that it's not working? And when you have men that was inside of a circumstance that did not need the Department of Corrections to define what rehabilitation looked like for them, they defined what rehabilitation looked like for themselves. To the point that these fine people that I just described do not mind us being their neighbor.